Hey guys, it's iDavis from the Czech community and welcome back. In this video, I'm going to make a quick review of my ideal setup of cultural buildings in my city. But before I get into this, don't forget to join by subscribing to this channel. As you could already see in my previous tutorials on this channel, the number of cultural buildings that I have placed in my city is overall very low. I do indeed have some cultural buildings here and there, but speaking from the space as the limiting factor, experience, I always try to think twice about every single piece I am about to put down into my city and consider whether the benefits are really worth the space and whether I am not able to get the resource from some another, more efficient source first. As the result, I try to put the most of the pressure on the source of different resources on my permanent buildings, such as manufactories, workshops or wonders, and I only use cultural buildings either temporarily if I need a lot of resources in a short time, or if they simply nicely fit the space of the already prepared layout. I am of course only taking even buildings into consideration, as these usually outperform the basic cultural buildings from the store, and there is really no way to not have enough of them taking the events frequency into account. I am also that kind of player who likes to keep beating ranking positions, so I usually prefer the buildings that actually consume my culture and population and provide the higher outputs of production, rather than giving additional culture, for example, which not only lower the production of resources I need, but is also giving me a culture that I might not be able to find a use for. Speaking of culture, even if there is still room for increasing my cultural boost further, I do rather optimize my city so that I get more supplies by, for example, enhancing my workshops and gathering enchantments from tournaments. Moving to the culture population hybrids, there is only one significant building in my city, the Venars Rocks. And that's exactly the approach that I used to have towards these buildings. I usually try to pick the best population providing building from the event, win maybe one or two pieces of it, save them in my inventory, and just very occasionally place into my city. Either if I need some extra population for some of the city upgrades that I'm doing, and I don't want to start leveling new residences from scratch, or if it simply fits and completes the layout of my city. I definitely do not consider culture population event hybrids to be a replacement for my residential buildings. I have seen a lot of players who actually sell or teleport their residential buildings in favor of event hybrids, but I see a couple of issues with this approach. Firstly, this sort of gameplay actually gets out of what the game itself expects from a player to do, and there are also a couple of signs that show that the game doesn't want you to give up your residential buildings. Take the Thermal Spring of Youth wonder from the Elvenars chapter as an example. This wonder increases the population in every residential building in your city. This effect is, however, not applied to event hybrids. So the lower the amount of your residential buildings is, the lower the effect of this wonder gets. And there are not many wonders for population, and you know that population is one of the most important in-game commodities, so it just becomes some sort of unnecessary limitation for you. Speaking of coins production and the unchanging look of your city for several chapters are just some of the other reasons to not to do so. There are few very small but cool culture population hybrids in crafting, such as the Rainbow Flower Cage, which is a 1x1 building, or Rainbow Unicorn, which are the great buildings that can be used for filling the small gaps in your city. When it comes to event buildings with productions, I never keep these in my city permanently. That's just some sort of my strategy that I always try to design my city so that I can produce almost everything I need and in those necessary amounts from my permanent sources, most usually by preparing the wonders for it. For example, I don't really need Seeds cultural buildings in my city because thanks to my Elvenar Trade Center, I can maximize my output of sentient goods thanks to enhancing magical manufacturing enchantments and can produce a lot of sentient goods very seed friendly. To top this off, I focused on leveling my Simia Sapiens wonder primarily after unlocking it, which makes it even easier to stockpile my sentient goods. Just so that I don't forget, crafting itself is providing one of the best cultural buildings for seeds, the Festival Merchant, which per one field is one of the best seeds producing cultural buildings in the game. So in case you get into a sudden need of seeds, crafting and taking some of these buildings out of the inventory is still an opportunity to take. Something similar is in case with mana, for which I have almost fully leveled Dragon Abbey, and here again come tournaments for a bunch of enchantments to use every week. but I always keep some of the even older mana producing buildings in my inventory, for example the Lava X or Manta Rays, which are great mana producing buildings. Even if they are from some of the older events already, it's still good to have some sort of backup in case you get into a point where you need a lot of mana in a short time, which is exactly what especially the recent chapters 17 and 18 have brought. Last but not least, when it comes to expiring buildings, which can stack in your inventory just after a few events, there is really no rule for using them, and it depends on one's preferences and daily activity, but just to provide my ideal way of using them, I always wait until I finish chapter and then place them all to fill the free space. So I actually place all the expiring buildings received from the time I've been going through the chapter, which helps me to more easily manage and organize the timers among them. And with that being said, that's it for this video. If you have your own strategies or opinions for cultural buildings, share them with other players in the comment section below, and thank you for watching and see you next time.